In this lecture, we are going to discuss two concepts by Baudrillard, that is simulacra and hyperreality. As we know that UGC Net has started asking conceptual questions, so we'll get into an in-depth study of these concepts so you get a good understanding. Starting with the concept of simulacra. According to him, simulacra is the representations of representations. We'll discuss what does he mean by this. First of all, just understand the contemporary society that we are living in today. We live in an age of stimulations. Okay, what happens is we reproduce objects or we reproduce events. For example, would you rather go to a real safari in the jungle with real animals, or the reproduction of that same event or that same environment and surrounding could be a representation of something like that, a representative jungle safari with a fake jungle and fake animals. So, what is happening is there's a dissolution of TV into life and life into TV. So what happens when this cycle it starts and it ends? We do not understand where does it start and where does it begin, where does it end. Also, it keeps on moving, and it moves so fast in this society, in this life that we're living in. It is very difficult to differentiate then. The technology that we have, the artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth, it helps to represent and recreate things in such a manner that it looks almost like real and sometimes even better than real. Okay, for example, Jurassic Park. We have not seen dinosaurs, but the way they have presented the dinosaurs and the whole Jurassic Park, it seems even better than real, more real than real. Okay, so he has discussed about three types of simulacra. We'll take these and understand with examples. So, first example, where he says that nature is original and the representation of nature is the copy. Okay, so when we see a beautiful background in perhaps our phone wallpapers or our computer laptop wallpapers, we see how beautiful it looks. What is it actually? If it is a wallpaper of a mountain, perhaps, or a forest, or a river flowing. So, the original is nature, and the representation of this nature is copy. Another example can be the Mona Lisa painting. Okay, the representation was Mona Lisa is smiling, but when you look at the painting, you see her smiling from every perspective. So, this representation, this copy of the original, it also seems hyper real. It looks, because when you look at a person, you cannot see from every angle if they're smiling or not. So, this copy, this representation of Mona Lisa is what he's talking, that this is the simulacra. Second, mass production. Mass production, for example, take the example of an iPhone. iPhone 3 was developed once, and since then there has been a mass production. Only some alterations have been done, and the original product, that was the first iPhone, it kept on replicating. They modified here and there, and the production is in a mass mass form. There's a huge production, and people, they want to buy every new copy of the original that is produced. For example, if they are producing iPhone 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth, people are willing to buy and pay anything for the latest model, even though it is a copy of the original. Third example, copy of something that does not exist. For example, we can take the example of Jurassic Park. We can take the example of unicorns. Unicorns that do not exist, but they would present it in a way that seems unreal, better than real, and people tend to believe it. And people would even buy the merchandise that, they talk about unicorns or who are trying to sell those things. People are going to buy it even when they do not exist in reality. So, this representation that is more real than real, it aims to represent what? It aims to represent the death culture that is there in the contemporary society. So, what is this death culture and what does it represent? It represents social exclusion and discrimination, right? Social exclusion in the way that, let us just take the example of a fake safari ride, which is very unreal and which is very extravagant and whatnot. It talks about a lot about social discrimination and exclusion because not everybody can afford the tickets, not everybody can afford to go there, not everybody has the awareness or knowledge about it. And it talks about the binary opposites of life and death. And thus, he said that this is the death culture. The reality which is experienced, it is very different for different people. How is it different? It is different on the basis of where you are from, who you are, and what is your source of information. If you are from a very poor country, perhaps, would you know about something that is happening in a faraway wealthy country where the entry tickets are very expensive, where the culture is entirely different from the culture that you have in your country? Therefore, the reality would be very different and it will be experienced on the basis of your perspective. Because as an audience, everybody who is a part of the audience, they construct their own version of reality. And everything that is represented in the media, whatever is represented in the media is experienced as multiple realities, because a lot of people have different realities, different experiences, and media combines it all and shows it as multiple reality. Therefore, no single definite account of reality is present. The patterns, they keep on changing with the change in knowledge, with the change in experiences, and with the change in realities. Our knowledge of reality is itself the product of different representations. For example, take the case of a celebrity suicide, okay? The media presents the views of different people, and all of them have perceived that incident according to their own information, according to from where they belong. Perhaps the people from the person who committed suicide, the other people who belong to the same caste, perhaps the same class, perhaps, or from the same state or country that their notions could be very different from other people. Therefore, our knowledge of reality is the product of different representations. How we conceive things depends on from where we are and from where we are getting our knowledge. Individuals, they pick and choose ideas that suit their prejudices and beliefs. If the police is investigating a murder and they say that it is a suicide, a lot of people would just believe it because it is what they want to believe, because it suits their beliefs and their prejudices. They will not second doubt it, they will not question it, because they will just believe it. And this is how the social construction of news comes into being, okay? So this concept says that media does not simply mediate the message through representations. They are the message. Media is a very influential and powerful form of communication, and they send messages to the mass. So, this idea is important in relation to something like the social construction of news, since news reporting involves a representation of reality. Now, there's another concept, that is rejecting the idea that the news reports and to provide a neutral window on the world, so that if there is a neutral window, only then people can make their own opinions. Otherwise, whatever is represented in the media, they will just blindly believe it. Therefore, whatever information is filtered through the media lens is no more and no less objective than any other reality filter. That means they have also made their own reality on the basis of what they believe and they view it to the audience. The postmodernist view, what does it say? It says that social networks have the power to control distribution of information rather than institutions. For example, if there is a case against some institution, for example, if there is a case against some religious institution, the media, the social networks, they have the power to control distribution of information. Now they will distribute all kinds of information that they'll get from various sources. But do they have the control over that institution? Is what the media is saying really going to change that institution or what happened? So the information that is produced and the information that is consumed, it is by the same people. There are some kinds of people who have lots of opinions on lots of things, and they are the people who are producing information, and they are the people who are also consuming information from like-minded people. Therefore, this information flows between different points in a network. Okay, the like-minded people who are the producers of this information, they also consume this kind of information. What happens as a result? It becomes very difficult to understand the difference between the producer and the consumer. So this is the postmodernist view. This idea, this postmodernist view, it challenges the notions of Marxists and feminists who have talked about power, and they said that it is class that oppresses other people. Okay, the haves, they oppress the have nots, according to the Marxists. And the feminist notion of power says that patriarchy is the root cause of everything, every discrimination. So, unlike Marx, Baudrillard did not see any revolution coming up, but he only saw a black hole, which is catastrophic in nature. Catastrophic, that means it is deadly in nature. It is going to increase consumerism, and it is also going to increase meaninglessness because people are not verifying the truth. They are believing what they are hearing, what information they are getting, they are believing it blindly. Let us discuss some questions now. According to Baudrillard, when we move towards the realm of subjective, intangible ideas about the world, it is the third order of simulacra, which we just discussed, where there are stories or there are representations of things that do not even exist. The example we discussed was Jurassic Park and unicorns. Second question. Infomercials are an example of, so infomercials where we are getting information through commercials, advertisements. This is hyperreality. For example, a washing detergent ad, you can take the example where the washing detergent, it is making the whites whiter than white. It looks like the stadium lights are on such clothes, so it looks like something that is whiter than whites. So it is an example of hyperreality. I hope you got this lecture. Thank you for watching.